All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday law class. Give me 1 second. Let's put some notes. Yeah, this is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday law class. Also, remember, check out Commanding GEN.YAHANNA's radio show, which is Monday, 2 a.m. Bringing it out heavy. Also, check out the classes in the States, Wednesday through Friday. Also, we got classes here, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. till 9, B18 5PW 394 Lodge Road. We have classes here, man. Come on down, man, and check them out. And also, if you've been watching the news, they said that the British economy fell by 25%, and it took them 18 years to build it up, man. And it's dropped by 25% in 3 months. So what the government's trying to do is, what they're doing now is giving out all these vouchers. So now they're giving out, they're trying to give out a £500 voucher for the high street. So you spend £500 on a voucher, and then that keeps jobs and keeps the companies in business. Then because restaurants are failing miserably, all August they're doing 50% off in food places. Listen, man, just go get them bargains, man. It's right. You deserve them bargains, man. That's right. You deserve that 50% off for you and these free vouchers. Now they want to give you freebies because it benefits them. And don't let them scare you about, oh, the economy's falling. The thing is this, man. We're black men. Like, what does that mean to us? The economy's falling. The economy's falling. The thing is this. That's their economy, not ours. We ain't even part of their economy. That's right. All we do is what? Get paid by them and give our money right back to them. Ain't nothing falling for us. The thing is, once upon a time in England was talking about our so-called recession, and we were so broke that we thought we felt this recession and we didn't feel the recession. Yeah, we thought we felt this recession and we didn't feel this recession. We thought, you know what? I'm gonna be broke and I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent and blah 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 because we're going through a recession. And the thing is, the jobs that we do, nobody else wants to do them anyway, man. So the kind of jobs that we do is always there. And the little bit of wage we get in is near enough minimum wage, man. We get minimum wage, why? So we have to return back to work next month. So you get paid a low wage monthly, and then that lets them know, okay, then this guy has to return to work next month. Why? Because his wage is so low. That's what they do with us, man. So us like crying about a recession, there's no need for us to cry about it. Us like crying about, oh, the economy's falling. There's no need for us to cry about that. But today we're gonna go into inheritance and whatnot, even though we don't have much inheritance. Because why? The nation stole everything from us, man. But we've got a better inheritance. Give me Joshua chapter 14 and verse 1. So we're going to go to the book of Joshua chapter 14 and verse 1.
Joshua chapter 14 and verse 1. And these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan.
These are the countries that the children of Israel inherited. Now what? You inherit things from your father. And the Lord said to our father, the Lord said to our father, I'm going to give you and you see this land. So the Lord did what? Said to Abraham and said, for a surety, I'm going to give you son this land. I'm going to give you kids this land. So what happened? The Lord made a promise to Abraham. Then the Lord said to Abraham, in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
That's right.
And then in Isaac, man, the lineage goes through Isaac. People seem to think that our inheritance and what God gave us, everyone's supposed to have. It don't work like that, man. God spoke to Abraham and said, in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And then Abraham said, Lord, let Ishmael live before thee. And the Lord said, no. The Lord said, I'll bless Ishmael with 12 princes. But as for my covenant, it's going to be with Isaac. So what? Isaac had two sons. Isaac had what? Jacob and Esau. And then that inheritance and blessing went down to Jacob, man. You can read about it, man. When Isaac gave that blessing to Jacob, all these things that he's seen on this earth really belongs to us. But read on.
Which Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel.
And the tribes of the fathers of the children of Israel. So now this is when the breaking up the land. When we go, give me 1 second, let me get there with you. This is where they're breaking up the land because we're about to go in there and they're giving us our inheritance. Now the inheritance that we was given, there was one part of the land which would be for the tribe of Benjamin, the tribe of Judah, and so forth. Go ahead.
Salakia. Distributed for inheritance to them. By lot was their inheritance.
Go ahead.
As the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses. For the
Lord commanded by the hand of Moses, man. Now, who was Moses? Moses was what? The man that was leading Israel at that time, man. Before he died in the wilderness, he obviously didn't get to make it over into the land. Read on.
For the 9 tribes and for the half tribe.
It says for the 9 tribes and for the half tribe. Now, when it talks about the half tribe, is because why? Joseph is what? Our brother, but Joseph had 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So Ephraim and Manasseh, them 2 both became a tribe. So that's what it says for the half tribe. That's the reason why it says for the half tribe. People's probably thinking, what's a half tribe? Sister said, what chapter and verse? We're in the book of Numbers, chapter 14, and Rabban, what verse we at?
Verse 3.
Numbers chapter 14 and verse 3. Go ahead.
Khan. For Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes and an half tribe on the other side Jordan. But unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them.
So the Levites, they didn't get no inheritance amongst us, meaning they didn't get their own land. You know why? Because the Levites was priests. So what would happen is what? You would have priests living in your neighborhood. You'd have Levite priests in each neighborhood. So they would be in your neighborhood, and they would what? They would carry out what? The punishment of the law and whatnot. Like people think with the law that it was just, people think that with the law that it was just anybody stoning anybody. It didn't work like that. You had priests that was in charge of that zone, man. See, like now, like I can't just go and arrest somebody. It just doesn't work like that. Read on.
For the children of Joseph were 2 tribes. And
that's why it says for the half tribe, it says for the children of Joseph were 2 tribes. So in Egypt, what happened is Joseph was sold into Egypt by the Arabs, I believe. It was sold to the Egyptians by the Arabs. Yeah, so Joseph was sold to the Egyptians by the Arabs. And obviously the brothers came back to their father and said, obviously, Joseph's dead and whatnot. They found his what did they find again? Was it his jacket, his coat? Yeah, they found his coat and they put some animal blood on there and all of those things. Remember, this is back in the days before forensics and all of these kind of things. So they done that. So that's why Joseph was in Egypt. So when Jacob went to Egypt, he blessed Manasseh and Ephraim. I believe Manasseh was the older one, but he gave Ephraim the blessing first. So Ephraim got the blessing first. So that's why Ephraim is what known as the head tribe of the northern kingdom, and then Judah is what the head tribe of the southern kingdom. Read on.
The children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore, they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in.
And this is why back then we used to what? Take care of the priests, man. Like, how would the priests eat? The priests would eat from what? You see them sacrifices. People think that God eats them. Nah, man. The Levites would eat those sacrifices, man. That was their meal. The Levite, that's how you would take care of the Levites. What you would have is you'd have the Levites and they would eat them sacrifices. Why? Because obviously they're doing the work of the Lord. They're the Lord's mouthpiece on earth. They was doing the work of the Lord. So all them sacrifices and whatnot, that would be the Levites' meal and so forth. So you would have Levites living in your city because they would obviously would carry out the punishments of the law and all of those kind of things. So you'd have them scattered around your city. But whereas now we can all be priests. Why? Because of the order of Melchizedek. Go ahead.
And what you're saying it's accurate because even right now, with the money that we pay, that pays the police officers.
Right.
So now their wage is basically
that's heavy, man. Exactly.
So likewise, even back then, way offerings and that the police did it.
Exactly, because he's working. Same like what? The police get paid our taxes. We don't go personally give them our money, but they what? Get our taxes because why? They claim to fight in crime. Obviously, the priest back then was doing the work. These police officers ain't doing the work. They're just getting paid free money and all of these things. Read on.
With their suburbs for their cattle and for their substance.
So they had a few cities and suburbs for their cattle, but they didn't have. You see, like how we had land and whatnot. They didn't have none of those things. Read on.
As the Lord commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did, and they divided the land.
They divided the land. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. So now they divided the land, meaning what? If certain Bibles, it will have a map and it will let you know where the land of Judah went from and to, where the land of Benjamin went from and to. So everyone had their own land, and then when you read about strangers, in certain instances in the Old Testament, it's talking about Israelites, man, meaning what? This man's land was the tribe of Benjamin, but now he don't live there no more. He's living in the land of Judah now. He's living in the land of Ephraim now. He would be a stranger. Why? Because he's not originally from that land. Same like today. If a brother comes from Trinidad or somewhere, he's a stranger to us. Why? Because he's from Trinidad and we from the UK. It don't mean we're not brothers, but we still are brothers, but we just don't know him like that. Go ahead.
So, Lucky, which chapter was it?
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8.
32, verse 8. Khan. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance.
Now the Lord divided unto the nations their inheritance. He gave all these nations their inheritance. And these other nations, clearly they ain't happy with what the Lord gave them, because why? They have to take our inheritance, man. They've come, took our land, destroyed it to where we don't even know anything about inheritance now. We don't know what belongs to us. We don't know our language. We don't know our culture. We don't know our customs. Why? Because these other nations have came and taken all of it, man. Read on.
When he separated the sons of Adam.
And he separated the sons of Adam, man. Listen, man. The Lord separated us. Why? Because he don't want all of us to be together. The Lord don't want all of us to be together. That's why what? Land, that's why after the flood and so forth, lands were separated with water, man. Because what? Before the flood, every nation's mixing and doing whatever. The Lord didn't want the sons of God mixing with the daughters of men. And that's why the flood came. People talk about, oh, the flood and fallen angels. Listen, that's all a lie, man. All this fallen angel stuff's all a lie. Listen, man, the angels do what God says. The angels do everything that God says. All of this, angels had sex with women, and it doesn't add up, man. You find these in them fake books, like Enoch and some other fake books. Whereas Enoch would tell you that a giant was the size of 10 double-decker buses, man. That's the measurements. That it was the size of 10 double-decker buses. So how could that giant have sex with a woman that's about 5'2", 5'3", man? Listen, man, it doesn't make no sense, man. It don't make no sense. They're telling you that and also the Bible tells you in let me see if where's that scripture now? It goes there's different bodies.
Oh, First Corinthians.
Is it 15 and let me see if I can get
celestial.
Is it that one? Rabban, hold that there, but get me 1 Corinthians 15. I'm sure it was, I believe it's 29.
10 and 9.
1 Corinthians 15 and verse 29.
15, 29. Khan, 15 and 29.
I'm sure it's that one. It's 29 or 39.
It might be.
Yes, 1 Corinthians 15 and 39.
39. All flesh is not the same flesh.
There's what?
All flesh is not the same flesh.
All flesh is not the same flesh, man. And this is why what? There's no such thing as a man impregnating an animal, man. It can't happen. Because all flesh ain't the same, and that's disgusting. But Esau tries to do what? Esau tries to push these things in movies that a man can be half human, half animal. These things don't happen, man. Read that again.
All flesh is not the same flesh.
It says all flesh is not the same flesh. Listen, man. Human flesh and animal flesh ain't the same, man. The two can't mix. They can't mix, man. But if you listen to if you watch enough stupid TV programs, they'll make you believe that a man can be half human and half dog. Read on.
But there is one kind of flesh of men.
There's what?
There is one kind of flesh of men.
There is one kind of flesh of men. So for men, there's one kind of flesh. Go ahead.
Another flesh of beasts. Another of fishes. And
there's
another
of flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. So listen, man. Even certain animals can't mix, man. So you mean to tell me we can mix with angels? It's not gonna work, man. All flesh ain't the same. There's different types of flesh. Read on.
There are also celestial bodies.
And the celestial bodies, man. Listen, man. There's earthly bodies and there's bodies that can go out of space and whatnot, man. The two are different. There's celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies. Go ahead.
And bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one.
And the glory of the celestial is one. Go ahead.
And the glory of the terrestrial is another.
And the glory of the terrestrial is another, man. So all of this stuff that angels had sex with women, it can't work, man. People teaching that don't know the Bible. Right. And listen, man, let me tell you something, man. Even according to biology, it don't work, man. Even according to biology, it don't work. You know why? Because a man has 23 chromosomes, a woman has 23 chromosomes, man. And with them chromosomes, they have to match. So with them chromosomes, this man, like let's say this man's chromosome on this side, this man's gene chromosome, and the woman's one, them two match. So what happens is, let's say for instance, you've got brown eyes. Say for instance, you've got light gray eyes, and your partner's got black eyes. Now what happens is, them two chromosomes match, and then which one's got the stronger gene, the child's eyes will come out. Whichever color's got the stronger gene, man. That's how chromosomes work. It works in pairs. The man has 23, the woman has 23. And like down to hair, down to your nose, down to your eyes. Listen, I've read all of these biology books. So down to your hair, your nose, your eyes, it comes from chromosomes, and this is why you look like either of your parents. Because why? Now, if you look more like your mom, it means that your genetic buildup, your mom's chromosomes are stronger than your father's, or vice versa. And this is why certain years down the line, what your grandma could have, say for instance, your grandma's got blonde hair. Let's say your grandma's got blonde hair for some reason. You still have that gene, but your child might not have blonde hair. Why? Because your other partner's hair gene is stronger than your one. But then down the line, few years down the line, your child's child could come out with blonde hair. Why? Because that blonde genetic is still there. It just matters if it's stronger than the next one. And that's how chromosomes work, man. And then what happens is, if one of them chromosomes are damaged, or you have one too less, or they don't pair up evenly, that's how you end up with that's how you end up with Down syndrome and whatnot. So that's how people get Down syndrome. Why? Because them chromosomes ain't matching up. Right. You either got too much or you either got too little. That's how it works. So when people say Christ was born of a virgin, it makes no sense. That means Christ would have 23 chromosomes, man. Right. And having 23 chromosomes, you can't survive, man. Right. And listen, man, if Christ was only born of Mary on her own, women have two X chromosomes. The X and Y comes from the man. So how was Christ the male if there was no man involved, man? Right. Christ had to have been a man, you know why? And came from a man, you know why? Because men have an X and Y chromosome, meaning what? A woman has two X's, meaning a woman's an X chromosome only. So what? That means if it was up to her, it would only be women. But the Lord's blessed the man with an X and a Y chromosome, which means what? This man's got the ability to make boys and girls. Anyway, that's the biology lesson over. Take me back to where was we? Take me back to Deuteronomy 32 and verse 8. That's enough biology for one day. Take me back to Deuteronomy 32 and
8. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
And he set the boundaries of the people, man. Every nation got inheritance, man. But we got the best. We got the best land, the best of everything. Now, these nations got their inheritance, but it wasn't better than ours, man. We got a land which flows with milk and honey, which means what? The goodness of everything. That's what we had. And then what have we got now? We got none of that. We're in the ghetto somewhere now. We went from a land which flows with milk and honey to a pest-infested ghetto, man. We've ended up in a pest-infested ghetto. You can drop that. Give me Numbers chapter 27 and verse 6.
Numbers chapter 27 and verse 6. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, the daughters of Zelophehad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their fathers.
Hold on, let me get there with you. This is a scripture of a man that had daughters. So obviously they didn't want the inheritance to keep moving, because what will happen is people pull this verse out of context and say, it says the battery's running low. So people use this to say that you can't marry outside of your tribe. I'm sure this is the one they use. Yeah, this is the one they use. Let me see if it's this. This is the one where people say you can't marry outside of your tribe. Now, the reason why they couldn't marry outside of their tribe is because what? This man didn't have no sons, only daughters. And once you become a man's, obviously that man's gonna, like, say if they married outside of their tribe, if they married a brother from the tribe of Judah, all the inheritance from their father is going to move from what tribe they was and end up as Judah's inheritance. So that was the reason. But that's why this is like a individual thing here. This don't mean you have to marry inside your tribe. Read on.
Thou shalt surely give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brethren.
So it says now you give them inheritance among your father's brethren, because at this time, if there was no men, they was thinking, all right, then, so what do we do with this man's inheritance? So the Lord was letting them know, this is what you do with the inheritance if this man's got no sons. Go ahead.
And thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying.
So now the Lord's letting them know any situations that you come across like this with inheritance, because usually what? Your inheritance goes to your firstborn son will get a big chunk of that inheritance. And this man didn't have sons, he had daughters, so it's letting you know what happens. Go ahead.
If a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter.
So it says now, if a man die and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. So if a man dies having no son, that inheritance passes on to his daughter. Now, with our sisters in the world out there, they're marrying. Imagine these sisters here married heathens, man. What do you think is going to happen to the inheritance? Some devil's going to get all that money, man. Just ask Serena Williams, man. Right. Serena Williams played tennis for all them years. She could have got with a black man. She could have had a child with a black man, and then that child wouldn't have to suffer in poverty like we do. But what's she gone and done? Got with some white man and made his life better now. That's right. So some white child's getting all of Serena Williams' wealth now. Right. Some white child's benefiting off all of that when a black child could have benefited from it. Right. And this is why the law specifically said, listen, man, don't interracial marriage and all of these things, man. Because this is how it works. These rich entertainers don't get with their own people. They get with their oppressors, and then you make their life better. Meanwhile, you could have got with what? Some black woman that you used to see your whole life, man. That's right. You could have got with some. You've seen how our sisters struggle. You could have changed their life, man.
That's right.
But instead, you don't want to change their life. You want to do what? change our oppressor's life.
Right.
You want to make them rich when you could have married your own kind. Like our sisters could have did what? Married a black man and, you know, change his life. But they don't want to do that, man. The thing is this, man. Our sisters need to get with a black man, an Israelite man.
That's right.
Because what? Listen, that seed that he's got is better than money, man.
Right.
It's better than money, man. Listen, value. You can't put no value on it, man. You can't put no value on it, man. You can't put no value on some Israelite. You can't put no value on it. Money don't even amount. Read on.
Khan. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren.
It says, if he has no daughter, then you give his inheritance unto his brethren. So you would pass his inheritance unto his brother, and so forth. Go ahead.
And if he have no brethren, then he shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren.
So if he's got no brothers, then you give his inheritance unto his father's brethren, which would be his uncle. So that's what you do with a man that had no sons. You'd pass the inheritance on like that. It's lucky you got a pocket from you. Give me First Ezra chapter 8 and verse. Alban, you hold that, and let me just get first. I'm just gonna have the brother in the class read First Ezra 8 and let me see what specific verse is. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can read you can start verse 69.
That's Ezra chapter 8 and verse 69. The nation of Israel, the princes, the priests and the Levites, have not put away from them the strange people of the land.
We ain't put away the strange people of the land, man. Meaning what? These other nations. The Lord told us when we go in there specifically that we must destroy them and make no covenant with them. But what do we do? Make covenants with them.
Right.
Made so much covenants with them that now you got no inheritance, man.
Right.
Now you got nothing, man. Every other nation, what? Can die and leave something to their kids. For us, listen, man. My grandparents died and they couldn't leave nothing for their kids, man. My mom's still paying off them funeral bills. I was gonna say something. Okay. Oh. Yeah, my mom's still paying off her mom's funeral bills, man.
Right.
Listen, white people don't have that problem. You know what they do? They sit down with their family and they organize their funeral. They say, I want this casket. I want this horse and carriage. I want the service to go like this. Whereas with black people, we pray you don't die because we can't afford it, man. It's too expensive. Listen, it's too expensive for black people to die, man. Like you think life's just life's expensive. You just being alive. Imagine you die, man, and then that debt falls on your kids, man. And guess what? It's not even our fault, man. It's our oppressor's fault, man. Robbed everything from us. Now, when your family members die, yeah, you're sitting there saying, "Oh, why did this nigga have to die? Now I have to pay for his funeral. I can't afford it." That's how we feel, man. We can't afford these funerals. Read on.
Nor the pollutions of the Gentiles, to wit, of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and the Moabites, Egyptians, and Edomites.
And listen, man, we got with all of them people. We're still getting with them people today, man. Go ahead.
For both they and their sons have married with their daughters, and the holy seed is mixed with strange people of the land.
It says, and the holy seed is mixed with the strange people of the land, man.
Right.
We want to mix this holy seed with people that we ain't supposed to, man. The Lord called this seed holy, man. And you want to mix it with the people of the land. You want to give it to the other nations. We ain't supposed to do that, man.
Right.
The Lord gave us 12 tribes of women to choose from, and he gave the women 12 tribes of men to choose from. We don't need to go outside of that. We don't need to mix this with the people of the land, man. And then while you mixing with them, you give them everything that you have. It don't ever work the other way. Listen, it don't ever work. It don't ever work out that you're mad broke and they change your life with money. It never works. Right. It never works that way. Listen, man. They use you, man. They don't really want to be with you. They see that you have something to offer. They see that you've got all the money. Like, listen, if Serena Williams was just some normal sister from the hood, this devil wouldn't want to be with her.
Right.
Because he knows that she's rich, she's on the Forbes list. Now he wants to be with her, man. And then now what? She's got a baby with him. All that money Serena Williams could have bestowed upon a black man and a black baby, an Israelite baby, man.
That's right.
That's what she should have done. Had a baby, man. And that baby could have had a better start off than the rest of us.
Right.
But what's she done? Gone and blessed the devil with all that money, man.
That's right.
At least Jay-Z's got a black woman, man.
Right.
At least Jay-Z's got a black woman, man. That's at least, man. Whereas half these other celebrities get money and go outside of their race. Kanye West, man. Go ahead.
So I say the one that was on James Bond, Ali the Eri.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She went out with some white guy and he got a divorce and he got everything. And to show that it's race, usually in a divorce, it's the woman that gets everything.
Right.
Her being black and the man white, he got everything. And basically, with the son that they got, he stayed in France with him. Right. And then she had to go and live in France so that she could be around the son. See,
and this is the thing, man. If she got with a black man, he would have said to her, you know what, you can watch the child and whatnot. There ain't no black man gonna move that. Ain't no black man gonna do that. Move the child all the way to France and nah, man. That's what Esau would do, man. Do all of those things, man. Read on.
And from the beginning of this matter, the rulers, the great men, have been partakers of this iniquity.
And it says the rulers, the great men, have been partakers of this iniquity. You can drop that. Read on.
Another one, Khan. 27 and verse 11. And if his father have no brethren, then he shall give his inheritance unto his kinsmen.
So now, if his father's got no brethren, then you give it the inheritance unto his father's kinsmen. So that's how inheritance would work. First, you would give it to this man's son. If he's got no son, you pass it on to the daughters. Now, if this man's only got daughters, and she marries, and she would have married a man from a next tribe, the inheritance would keep moving. That inheritance would belong to Judah and whatnot. So that's why there's a part where it says they have to marry inside their tribes, right? Is it this chapter? I'm sure it's this one. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. No, I can't find it, but it's around here somewhere. But give me Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 15. So that's how it would work. Inheritance is what? Something passed down from your fathers, man. And this is how you know, like people make out like what? We never meant to pass away, and we're meant to live forever. Listen, man. The reason why inheritance exists is because we pass away, man. So what happens is one day you get old and you pass on that inheritance to your children, man.
That's right.
And your children get old, they pass that inheritance on to their children. And then one day you come back and then you get the inheritance right back, man.
Right.
That's how it works, man. Like there's no such thing as us meant to, like when the Bible talks about everlasting life, it ain't talking about you're gonna be a million years old and nah, man. Come on, man. At what age would your body start shutting down, man? Like what age would you stay? So what? That means everyone on the earth is gonna get to a million and then it stops. Listen, man, it don't work like that. Everlasting life is what? You see how men in the Bible, Abraham and them lived a good life and died with their family around their bedside. That's everlasting life, man.
That's right.
Listen, man. Death in the Bible is the death that we die in the ghetto. That's what dying is, man. Christians believe everlasting life is you seeing your great grandkids and ongoing. Listen, man, it don't work like that. Everlasting life is you get to a certain age and your body starts to shut down. Like life's a circle. You keep coming back, man, and you come back in good conditions. That's what everlasting life is according to the Bible. Now, obviously, because of Christianity, we taught that what Adam would have lived forever if he didn't. If Adam didn't break the law, we taught that Adam would have lived forever. Listen, man, that's not true. That's what Christianity teaches, that one day when we die in this life, we float off to heaven somewhere and we're all gonna live forever. At what stage does it become overcrowded, man? Like at what stage does the earth become overpopulated?
Right.
If no one dies, at what stage does it become overpopulated, man? Listen, all of these things don't make no sense. The Bible says one generation comes, another generation passes away, man.
That's right.
The Lord made everything perfect. So the earth doesn't get overpopulated. It works out that what? Once you get to a certain age, you die and babies come and then they grow. And then what you'll realize is with your life, you'll see it with your life, you'll realize that one day you was one day you was a baby, your grandparents was alive, your mom was young, your mom took care of you. Then you see what? Your grandparents die. And then you slowly start to see what? Your mom's starting to look like your grandma, but getting older and whatnot. So your mom falls into your grandmother's position, and then you fall into your parents' position, and then you have a child whose position you was in. And then as you get older, as your child grows up, you become a grandparent, they become a parent. So life's a circle, man. It's a circle. People make out like, oh, you're just meant to live forever and ever and ever. It doesn't work like that. And this is why there's laws on inheritance.
Right.
Because people inherit wealth. People inherit stuff that you've got after you die. Because why? You can't take it with you. That's why there's inheritance, man. If you could take it with you, there'd be no need for inheritance. People make out like if you die and they bury you with a nice gold chain and your wedding rings, and it's not wrong to bury someone with their wedding rings. You can if you want, but people make out like, oh yeah, you're taking it to heaven with you. It doesn't work like that, man. It don't work like that.
That's right.
You leave your inheritance here because it's no use to you when you're dead. So what? Your kids can benefit from it, man. Like leave it to the living, so the living will have it, and then when they die, they leave it to the living. That's how life works, man.
Right.
Our God is the God of the living, and this is why with the Egyptians, they believe in a God that ain't the God of the living, and that's why the Egyptians bury their people with everything, man. Bury them with all the gold, bury them with all the wealth, bury them. Listen, they bury them with more riches than when they was alive, man.
Right.
They treat them better when they're dead than when they was alive, and slowly we've learned to be like that. Like we've learned to what? Only love people once they're dead and not when they're alive. Like we need to love each other while we can see, while we can hear, and while we can feel the love, man. Like when we're dead, bringing us flowers, it's too late, man. We don't know we've got them flowers. The Bible says the dead don't know a thing. So while I'm alive, man, have them flowers and whatnot. Let me treat me good while I'm alive. Like all of this, people say, his dead nephew was alive, or that helped him with this and that. Meanwhile, when you are alive, nobody cares, man. Nobody calls you to see if you're okay. Nobody feeds you. Nobody clothes you. Even when homeless people die, they put it on the news. A homeless man was found frozen to death. And then you read the comments. Oh, if I knew, I would have went and fed him. I would have went and clothed him. Listen, man, you did know. But because he's alive, you didn't care.
That's right.
But now that he's dead, now you care. And the Lord don't want us to be like that, man. We ain't supposed to be a people that treat the dead better than the living, man. Treat the living good while they can see, while they can eat, while they can do all those things. Read on.
Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 15. If a man have two wives.
If a man have what?
If a man have two wives.
Listen, man, the Lord put laws in place for if a man have two wives, man. Meaning the Lord didn't question, the Lord put like if a man is so normal that a man would have more than one wife, the Lord's put a law in place that how he must treat the children that come from them women, man. Right. Read on.
If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated.
One beloved and another hated. Now, everyone in the black community understands that, man. Everyone in the black community understands that. And especially how we're so destroyed nowadays, what happens is what? You're going to have one woman you love and one that you don't love so much, man. There's going to be one that puts you on child support. There's going to be one that gives you a headache. There's going to be one that stresses you out. So there's going to be one that stresses you out. So it says there's one loved and there's one hated. Read on.
And they have borne him children.
And what?
Both the beloved and the hated. It's like
and they
have borne him children.
Go ahead.
Both beloved and the hated.
Says the born him children, one loved and one hated. Go ahead. Now the Lord's so righteous that He puts laws in place that what if you have a child with the one that you hate, you still can't you can't treat that child bad because what you don't get on with its mother and whatnot. Like what so many people do. So nowadays, how do? We do it like, you know what? This child's mom's feeding him all this nonsense. Oh, I don't want nothing to do with it and whatnot. The Lord said we can't do it like that. This child still is your heir and so forth. Go ahead.
God. And if the firstborn son be hers that was hated,
and now, because your firstborn son usually gets your inheritance or a big chunk of it. So it says if the firstborn son be hers that is hated, which is letting you know the Lord's so righteous that even if you hate that woman so much that you don't want to give that child your inheritance because you hate her and you'd rather give it to what? Your other son who you love and who's with the rib that you get on with. The Lord's put a law in place, so you can't do that, man. The Lord is fair. Go ahead.
Then it shall be when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he have, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated.
And it says now, when he can't make the son of the beloved firstborn over the son of the hated. Like, we can't do that. And that's the law, man. And the reason it says that is in the black community, in the black community, what happens in the black community is all right, then especially most people I know what the first woman to have a baby with, they never plan to. So that's how it goes. Listen, usually a man's first, but nowadays a man's first baby mom, he never planned for her to be his first baby mom. He never planned it, it just happened. So the Lord's saying, if she has a son, he's still heir, man. He's still what? Must receive the inheritance. Go ahead.
Which is indeed the firstborn, but he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn.
It says, which is indeed the firstborn. So now the firstborn, he still gets the right, man. He still gets the right to that inheritance. Read on.
That's right.
But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he have.
And you have to give a double portion, because if you don't, you'll be breaking the law. But the reason we don't know these things is because we've got nothing to give right now. At this present moment, we got nothing to give.
Right.
We work as slavery where they're hardly paying us and so forth. Read on.
For he is the beginning of his strength.
For he's the beginning of your strength.
Right.
No, no matter how much you hate his mom, man. No matter how much you hate his mom. This is how you know this is a black man's book, man. That the Lord had to pull it in there. If you hate this woman and you got a son with her. Because there's so many stories of what? Men got babies with women that they can't stand. Men got babies with women that they absolutely hate their guts. The Lord's so righteous that what? Even through all of that, you can't penalize this child, man. Even through all of that, this child has to have a double portion of the inheritance. Read on.
The right of the firstborn is his. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son.
Yeah, that's it. And that, give me Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 20. So now the Lord's so righteous that what? You can't Phil, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get your question after this. So the Lord's so righteous that what? This child still has to have a double portion, man, even though you don't want to give it, which lets you know the Lord's fair, man. The Lord's righteous. The Lord wants this thing to run smooth. Give me Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 20.
Another one. Whoso curseth his father or his mother.
And listen, the Lord now put something in place that what? Because you see that child that grows up with its mom. Now that son of the mother that you hate, he's gonna grow up with his mom, and what happens? She fills his head with nonsense. So he hates you. He wants you dead. Listen, man, the Lord's so righteous that the Lord's put something in place that he can't curse you no matter the situation, man. No matter what's going on with you and his mom, the Lord's put something in place where he should never speak down on you, when he should never wish ill will towards you. The Lord's so righteous to put that in place, man. Because the Lord knows what? the wife of the hate, the son of the woman that you hate, obviously he's gonna love his mom, and he ain't gonna like you. The Lord's put things in place so he don't beat you up on the street, man. The Lord's put laws in place so he don't attack you in the street. The sister said, what's the chapter and verse in Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 20? So the Lord's put things in place so the father still make sure that son gets his inheritance. And the Lord's put things in place that the son doesn't speak ill of his father. Read on.
Whoso curseth his father or his mother, his lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness.
The Lord put that in place, man. He that curseth his mother or his father, his lamp shall be put out, man. What's a lamp? A light, man. Listen, man, that's punishable by death. Cursing your mother and father. A curse in the Bible is what? You saying something like, I hope my dad gets cancer. You saying something like that, man. That's a curse in the Bible, man. Listen, man. If your mom and dad's got issues, you just stay out of their issues, man. You stay out of their issues. Listen, it's all my mom and dad's been almost split up for over 20-something years, man. And my mom still takes these little digs at him, man. Still takes these little shots at him. Talks about, oh yeah, your dad's selfish, is this, is that. This has been 20-something years, man. She still takes these little digs at him. You look like your dad here and there. all these little digs, man. He would take these little digs at her as well. He'll be like he'll be having a convo with me, and he'll be like, yeah, you stupid mother. I'm saying I don't want to be here. I'm saying use like keep this between you two, man. Both of them do it, and the thing is, they're so similar. They're so similar. Like the thing is, they're so similar. I get on with both of them and love both of them, man. I don't get involved in none of their none of their little disagreements. I'll leave them to it. I stay out of it, man. Listen, man. One time they was getting along just fine because they made me. So they was getting along just fine, man. I don't know where all the hate came from. They was getting along just fine one day. Read on.
An inheritance may be gotten hastily at the beginning.
It says inheritance may be
but the end thereof shall not be blessed.
It says inheritance may be gotten hastily in the beginning, but in the end it won't be blessed. And listen, man, so many people do what? Curse their mother and father and can't wait for their parents to die so they can get the inheritance, man. Tons of people do it. Curse their mother and father, can't wait for their mom and dad to die so they can get the inheritance. Watch them crime channels. You see them crime channels. On them crime channels, you'll see that a man killed his mother because he's due to inherit 300 grand. So you mean to say 300 grand is worth more than your mother? 300 grand is worth more than your father? Listen, man. We can't be like that. Esau's like that. Esau curses his mother and his father for money, for inheritance. But the end thereof shall not be blessed. So you shouldn't be waiting for your parents to die for you to get an inheritance. Like, that's wrong, man. Let your parents live, man. And this is why some parents won't even tell you that they've got you in the will because they know you can't wait for them to die so you can get a piece of that will. Listen, man. Let your parents live, man. Don't curse your parents for some money. Don't curse your parents for some inheritance, man. You're either be broke and have your parents. You see, money's a thing where it comes and goes, man. Whereas with your mom and your dad, once they're gone, man. And this is why you should honor your parents. This is why you should honor your parents and respect them and love them, man. Listen, man, sometimes my mom FaceTimes me for 2 hours, man. I gotta sit on the FaceTime for 2 hours. And I do it, you know why? Because she ain't gonna be here forever, man. These are precious moments that you can't get back. Love your parents, man. Don't curse your mother and your father. Love them, respect them, man. Help them when you can help them. Take them shopping. Spend some time with them, man. Because they spent a ton of time with you when you was a child. And these are memories that you can't get back, man. These things, man. There's no better feeling than what? Your parents pass on and they know that what? You know that you done everything you could for them, man. You know that you took care of them. You know that you love them dearly. Because what happens is people who treat their parents bad, once their parents die, you kind of look at them and they've realized, you know what? I shouldn't have treated my parents that way.
That's right.
I've got an auntie like that, man. She treated my grandma bad, man. And when you look at her now, every so often she'll go into it, oh, I wish I treated my mom better. Like, out of all my mom's siblings, her and my uncle was the only one that treated her good, man. They used to go do the Asda shopping for her, drop her here, take her to her appointments. Meanwhile, every black person's got that person in the family where my grandma's eyesight was going kind of bad. So she'd tell one of my aunties and uncles, oh, go to the cash point and draw out some money for me. What they used to do is draw out their money first, draw out the money that they're going to steal first, then they put the card back in, draw out the money that she wants, then they print the receipt. That's what they would do, man. Like we've all got them family members. We've all got a criminal uncle in our family, man. Or we've all got an auntie that drinks too much in the family. Like when you look at it, every black family's got one, man. I happen to have 3 or 4, so lucky. Everyone's got one. I was unblessed to have 3 or 4. So we need to break the cycle, man. We need to break the cycle and not be alcoholics, and not rob our parents, and not curse our parents. We need to break that cycle, man, and treat our parents good. Read on. It's probably is it probably Proverbs 20 and it's probably 21 by now.
Khan. Say not thou, I will recompense evil, but wait on the Lord, and he shall save thee.
Listen, man, we wait on the Lord, man.
Diverse weights are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good.
That's it. And the brother had a question on. So lucky, where's his question gone?
22.
No, that's it. And that give me a Tobit 4 and 12.
So lucky, is my audio gone?
I can hear. Can you hear me? Alban, can you hear me? Oh yeah, I can hear you.
There was a question online.
I believe this is something about Tobit 4 and 12. So lucky, Theo, type your question in again. I can't see it on the.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. All right, Most High in Christ.
Yeah. Can't.
Give me Tobit 4 and 12.
Tobit.
Let's see if I can find it on there.
I've got it. Tobit chapter 4, verse 12.
Go ahead.
Gone. Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers.
Says take
and
a wife.
take not.
Give me 1 second. One sec. Yeah, read that again from the top.
Beware of all whoredom, my son.
Beware of all whoredom, my son. So now whoredom is what? You marrying heathens is what? Whoredom, man. That's what whoredom is. The Lord calls that whoredom. Read on.
And chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers.
Chiefly means above all. Take a wife of the tribe of the seed of your fathers. Go ahead.
And not take.
The brother's question was it's like 1 second, I'm gonna scroll up and see what the brother's question was. Oh yeah, there it is. Why do you not can choose a wife of any tribe when Tobit 4 and 12 says take a wife of your father's tribe? All right, read Tobit 4 and 12 again.
God, beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers.
You take a wife of the seed of thy fathers. Now our fathers would be who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then it says, read on.
God, and take not a strange woman to wife.
Don't take a strange woman to wife. So your fathers is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Go ahead.
If take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe.
And what all tribe means is family. So that's all tribe means is family. So when it says take not a wife of thy father's tribe, it's talking about, when it says take a wife of your father's tribe, it's talking about your family. And all 12 tribes is your family. So when you look up the word tribe just means family. That's all it means. It's worded like it's the wording like that will throw you off, but you don't have to marry inside your tribe. But like when I say inside your tribe, I'm talking about like Benjamin, you don't have, if you're Benjamin, you don't have to marry a Benjamite sister. Tribe just means family, and all 12 tribes is family. So that's what we are. So that's what it says. That's what it says. Let me find it. Children of the, it says, beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife. So it says, take a wife of the seed of thy fathers. Now, our fathers is who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man, and all those men of those tribes, man, because we're one family. And then when you look up the word tribe, it just means family. Read on.
Son of God. For we are the children of the prophets.
For what?
For we are the children of the prophets.
And now it's saying, for we are the children of the prophets. So now there's prophets in all 12 tribes. We their children, man. Now the people that we can't marry is people who ain't the children of the prophets.
That's right.
So you can marry outside your tribe. When they say outside your tribe, I'm talking about within Israel, within the 12 tribes. You can't marry outside of the 12 tribes, but we're one family. Why? Because we come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's our fathers. Our fathers is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Go ahead.
For we are the children of the prophets.
For we are the children of the prophets. Go ahead.
Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Wait. The children of the prophets is who?
Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
So now, we the children of the prophets, and the prophets come from Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which means what? You have to marry someone which comes from Jacob. That's how it works. 12 tribes comes from Jacob. So you can marry any of those 12 tribes. Why? Because they're also children of the prophets. That's why. And tribe just means family. Read on.
Remember, my son, that our fathers in the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred.
Go ahead.
And were blessed in their children.
And was blessed in their children, man. Meaning we, what the Lord said, we married in our own tribe. It's lucky we married in our own nation, our own family, and we was blessed in our children. And that's true blessings, man.
Right.
Like you don't want to marry someone that's a non-Israelite and then have children with them. And what's gonna happen, man? Them children is gonna be behaving like heathens. Why? Because they got a heathen mother. So they're gonna behave like heathens. They're not gonna wanna behave how they're supposed to behave. Whereas if you marry a sister from any of these 12 tribes, man, that's your family, man.
That's right.
Our culture's one. We're all children of the prophets. We all can come to UPK feast days, man. Whereas if you've got a heathen wife, she can't come to these feast days. Now, if you marry the children of the prophets, they can come to these feast days, man. Read on.
And their seed shall inherit the land.
And their what?
And their seed shall inherit the land.
And their seed shall inherit the land, man. Because we had the land which belonged to us. And all we have to do is marry in our tribes, man. And then that inheritance, imagine a sister marries a heathen man. You, like I said, you give him all them riches. Now, if we marry in our family, them riches is staying within our family. Them riches is staying within our nation. Instead of us working sun up to sundown, and then you go marry some heathen that just takes all your money. Or like Halle Berry sues you and takes half your money. Read on.
But therefore, my son, love thy brethren.
And it says, therefore, it says, therefore what?
Therefore, my son, love thy brethren.
Now it says, now, therefore, my son, love thy brethren. Now, this is how you know it's talking about every tribe, because what? All 12 tribes is our brethren. All of them is our brethren. That's what it says, love your brethren. Go ahead.
Son of God. And despise not in thine heart thy brethren.
And it says you don't despise them. And how do you despise them? By having sex with another race, man. That's how you despise them. Go ahead.
God. The sons and daughters of thy people in not Salakia, and despise not in thine heart thy brethren. The sons and daughters of thy people in not taking a wife of them.
It He says, the sons of daughters of thy people. Now, Ephraim is thy people. Manasseh is thy people. Asher is thy people. Judah is thy people. We are one people, the 12 tribes, all of us. So we meant to marry within our nation and not despise them by taking a wife of some next nation. Go ahead.
Right. For in pride is destruction and much trouble.
Destruction, man. You think? Listen. You thinking you're better than? You thinking you're better than? You thinking because you got a little bit of pot of money, you're better than black people. You're better than Israelites. Right. Pride is destruction, man. And you're gonna be crying your eyes out when this white woman takes you to court and sues you for everything, man. You're gonna be crying your eyes out when this white woman gets you done for rape, man. You're gonna be crying your eyes out when you're like Halle Berry having to go live in France and whatnot. That's it. And that take me to Luke chapter 12 and verse 13. Phil, just let me know if that answers your question.
Luke 12. What?
Luke chapter 12 and verse 13.
Luke chapter 12, verse 13.
So we're talking about inheritance. Read on.
And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother that he divide the inheritance with me.
And listen, man, this is black people, man. How much black people do you know that's fell out over inheritance? Tons of them. My dad's side of the family, his parents passed away. They all fell out over inheritance, man. They all fell out over what? The house. One wanted to live in there, one wanted to sell it. They fell out over the house, man. That's how you know black people. This Christ is breaking down some heavy topics and whatnot. This brother comes up to him and says, get my brother to split the inheritance with me. If this ain't black people, I don't know who it is. We fight over inheritance, man. Come to Christ saying split the inheritance with me. That's how you know this is a black man's book, man. You see, once you read this book without them Christian glasses on, you see traits of black people all throughout this book.
That's right.
Because every black person's got family members who they know who's fell out over inheritance. Someone died. Listen, your parents die. What happens? Your family that you've never seen for years come around talking about they want the car, they want the TV, they want the sofas. We all go through it, man. This man here is doing the same thing. Time my brother split the inheritance with me. He didn't give a damn about hearing the words of God. He just wanted the inheritance split with him. And this is black people for you, man. We'd be like, you know what? My mom passed away. I'm going to come into some money. That's what black people say. I'm going to come into some money. And then what happens is the person they leave in the will, because if your parents leave their favorite child in the will, which they usually do, to put their favorite child in the will, you be holding some animosity saying, so they left him in the will and he doesn't want to go halves with me. He don't want to split the money. So you fall out with him, and then what happens? The family bond is broken now. Your kids no longer see his kids. The cousins, but they no longer see each other no more. Because what? You've let money break up your family. So what happens? Your kid has kids, and then we don't even know we're related until we throw a family reunion 70 years down the line. And then I'm like, hold on, we're cousins. I didn't know we was cousins. Not realizing the reason we split up is because what? Over inheritance and over money. And listen, every black family goes through it, man. Every Israelite family goes through it, man. Fighting over money, fighting over inheritance. My grandparents on my dad's side had 11 kids, and they had a house which was about worth 111 grand, and they fell out over that, man. There's no point. There's not enough money for all of you. Like, they fell out over it. One of my aunties that used to take care of my nan the most, used to do the shopping, used to do this. They gave her near enough all the inheritance. So they was mad at her that she didn't split it equally. And this was, how old was I? This is when did Brazil win the World Cup?
1998.
Was it 98? This was in 1998. I ain't seen that auntie since. My dad hasn't spoken to her since. Some of my other dad's siblings have died since then. That auntie ain't came to the funerals or nothing. Why? Because they fell out over money. I just remember she had a daughter that's my age, which is my cousin. I wouldn't know if it's in there today. I wouldn't know who she is. Why? Because they fell out over money. And this is the thing, man. Don't let inheritance break up your family. Don't let money separate you from your family, man.
Right.
And you see that money that they were separated over? That money's been long spent.
That's right.
That money's gone now. Like, listen, if you think 10 grand is gonna last you longer than a year, you're mistaken, man. 10 grand ain't stretching nothing, man. 10 grand ain't gonna stretch. Go ahead, sir.
If I can add, even the average job that like you have, what you're making a year is like 30 grand, 20 grand. So that's gonna go.
Exactly.
It's not gonna last.
And at the end of the year, from that 30 grand you make a year, you got nothing to show for it, man. You've worked all year for 30 grand. You look at your bank account, you've just got the £1,500 that you've just been paid, man. And then that's gonna go also. So chasing all this money stuff, honestly, we've been chasing money, and we don't seem to get it, man. Read on.
So that was me.
Yeah, go ahead.
God. And he said unto him, man, who made me a judge or a divider over you?
Christ said, listen,
And he,
Christ said, who made me a judge or a divider over you? Christ was doing the work of God, man. He didn't give a damn about that, about that money that you want. He didn't give a damn about that money your brother's not giving you. He saw Christ was a wise man. He could have asked him any question in the world. He wasted his shot at asking him a question to say, get my brother to split the inheritance with me. Forget the inheritance, man. You got the wisest man on the face of the earth, man. And you want to ask him about inheritance. What you should have asked him is, how can I make it into the kingdom, man?
That's right.
How can I make it into the kingdom where I get an uncorruptible inheritance? Where I get an inheritance which moths can't destroy? How do I get an inheritance which the white man can't steal and take, man? That's what I should have asked. I'd ask, how do I get an inheritance which the white man can't take? That's what I would have asked. Read on.
God. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth.
Yeah, man, the things that a man has, that don't mean nothing, man. The things that a man has, that don't mean nothing. You can have the best car in the world, best house in the world. It don't mean nothing, man. Afterwards, he gives them a parable, talks about a man that had great riches and stored them up. And this man died, and it goes, then whose riches would these become? Listen, man. Just understand this. You can't buy your way into the kingdom of God. God can't be bribed. You can't go to God with a check saying, this is how much money I made, let me into the kingdom. It don't work like that, man. You have to be righteous towards God. You have to be rich towards God, man. That's how we have to do it. Give me Proverbs chapter 30 and 20.
Proverbs 30 and
20. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 20. Such is the way of an adulterous woman.
Is that the right one? Proverbs 30 and 20.
God, Proverbs 30, verse 20, yeah.
Let me see if this is, go ahead. Hold on 1 second.
Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and says,
no, that's not the right one. Give me 1 second. Hold on, give me 1 second.
What's the topic, Salakia? What's the topic?
inheritance.
It was about inheritance. 1 sec, let me see if that's the right one. Give me 1 second. Let me. I can't remember what it was to quote it. Give me 1 second. It's one where it says a good man leaves the inheritance to his children. You found it?
Yeah.
Oh. Some proverbs somewhere. But yeah, we're just going to look for that. So inheritance, it's good to have. It can help you.
I got the other one.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, it's Proverbs 13 and 22.
Most High in Christ. Damn, I don't know how I missed that. For water for that. I was way off. Yeah. You can go ahead and read it.
Another one. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 22. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children.
Now it says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Now let me ask you a question. If your father doesn't leave you an inheritance right now, does that make him evil? Exactly. You know why? Your father can't leave you an inheritance. You know why? Because these nations have robbed him, man. He's struggling. Right. He's struggling like you're struggling.
Right.
He's struggling like you're struggling, man. He can't leave you an inheritance. How can your dad leave you an inheritance when most of his life is spent in prison, man? When most of his life is spent making minimum wage, man? He can't leave no inheritance. Like we shouldn't get mad at our parents for not leaving us with nothing. Like before the truth, we didn't see it this way. Before the truth, we just used to be like, oh man, I wish my dad was rich. I wish my dad was. You start wishing that your dad was a celebrity, man. Everyone's done that. Everyone's done it in the past. You started to wish, oh man, why couldn't my dad be a footballer? Like in life, it's like before the truth, you've always thought, I've had the dad that I didn't want. Why can't my dad be rich? And the thing is, man, it's not his fault, man. Right. It's not his fault that he ain't got no money. It's not his fault that he can't leave you no inheritance. It's not his fault, man. Read on.
And the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just.
And listen, man, the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Our oppressor is the devil, man. And his wicked is wicked. And you see his money, everything that he's getting, it's a matter of time before it falls into our hands, man. Sister, that's what verse yes, it's Proverbs 13 and verse 22. So yeah, his money is laid up for us, man. Go ahead.
Much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment.
Go ahead.
He that spareth the rod hateth his son.
Listen, man.
But he that loveth him chasteneth him.
You think your father hates you because he don't give you no inheritance? Nah, man. Your father loves you, man. That's why he disciplines you, man. Ain't nobody discipline children like black men, man. And the thing is, our fathers would leave us inheritance if they could, but obviously you can't leave what you don't have. Tazpuan, get me give me Luke chapter 15 and verse 11.
God, ready for it now?
Yeah, go ahead. Like, don't be mad at your dad because what? He ain't got no money, man, and he can't buy you the trainers that you want. Listen, man, we've all been there. Our dad buying us some trainers that we ashamed to wear. You gotta wear these trainers in PE. Everyone else has got Nike. Listen, growing up, man, everyone else had Nike trainers, and my dad brought me some next kind of trainers, man. And I was embarrassed to wear them. And it's not his fault. He just ain't got money like that, man. And you know who to blame for that? You blame the white. You see, every time you look at them ugly trainers, blame the white man. Right. He's robbed you. He's robbed your dad of his money, man, of his inheritance. And at least your dad buys you something to put on your feet. Look at it like that. Look at it like that. My dad ain't got all the money in the world, but he still makes sure I got shoes on my feet. He still makes sure I'm fed every night. Like the thing is this, growing up, people saying that you need money to have kids, that's a lie, man. Because my dad had 7 kids and he had a 1-bedroom flat. And we all had room, man. What he had is he had a double bed and a single bed pushed together, man. And he made it work, man. He had about 6-7 kids in 2 beds and it worked. And he used to sacrifice and do what? Sleep in the living room on the chair. And he made sure we all ate dinner. He had a kitchen table with only 4 chairs. And he made sure we all ate dinner, man. Made sure he found a way, man. And what we need to do is look at our parents' sacrifices and understand that's love what they do for us, man.
Right.
Why our parents' sacrifices and how much they struggled to make sure we could eat should make you say the white man's the devil, man. That's right. That's what it should make you do. Instead of you looking at your father like, oh, he's broke. He should have got a better job. He should have got a degree. Look at your father like, this is my hero, man, and he made it work. Right. He turned nothing into something, man. He made sure we all ate every night. You don't know what battle your father's facing, man. Your father's feeding you, making sure you eat, making sure you sleep. Meanwhile, he sleeps on the sofa, man. Meanwhile, he sleeps on the chair, and you have the bedroom, man. That's love right there. That's what real love is, man. That's what real love is. Real love ain't someone just giving you £100. Real love is what? Once your parents make sacrifices for you, man. And how do you repay them? By coming into the truth and calling the white man the devil, man. And letting them know, listen, mom, dad, I understand that we struggled growing up. I understand what you went through. I know it's not your fault, but you know whose fault it is? It's this devil's fault. Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be struggling in this little flat. We wouldn't be living on these rations if it wasn't for him. It's about time we start showing our parents love, man. Go ahead.
That's right. God. Luke chapter 15, verse 11. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons.
It's like Kappa, the one before this was Proverbs. Next one. It was Luke 12 and verse 13. The one before we got Proverbs. It was Luke chapter 12 and verse 13 before we got Proverbs. Go ahead, take one.
Okay. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods.
And listen, man, people just want money. They want their inheritance, their portion of goods. And the thing is, you're just gonna squander it anyway, man. You want it so you can go and gamble. You want it so you can go to the strip club. You want it so you can let women use you for the money.
Right.
You get some money and then you start taking all these pictures with the money to your ear like this. You get the money, you put the money to your ear like this. Listen, man, these women are gonna use you, man. You squander that money, man. And riotous living. Read on.
Okay. Gave me the portion of goods that falleth to me.
And it said, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And this is the thing, man. So many people can't wait for their parents to die because they want to come into that money. People already make plans for the money, like they're planning their parents' death. Like they already make plans for the money because when that money comes in, I'm gonna get an extension on the house. Nah, man. How about you want your parents to live, man? That's what I want. I want my parents to live, man. Who cares about the money, man? Read on.
And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country.
Yeah, man, this is what people do. They get that money and they disappear, man. Yeah. Get that money, they think they're gonna make something of their life now. Disappeared into a far country. They say, "Oh, I'm gonna buy a new house." What did they do? A few trips to Jamaica. They go to Jamaica. Talk about I'm gonna buy a holiday home, all of those things, man. Read on.
Journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance.
And he did what? He did what?
Wasted his substance.
Listen, man, you're just gonna waste that inheritance anyway, man. If you got poor money management, you're just gonna waste it like you do the rest of your money. You're gonna waste it like you do all your money. He wasted his substance, man. Go ahead.
Wasted his substance with riotous living.
Wasted his substance with riotous living, man. And that's what people do with their inheritance money, riotous living. Now, someone smart would be like, you know what? Like say for instance, people that win the lottery, they always end up going back broke. Riotous living, man. Now, first of all, if you win the lottery, what you do is you don't quit the job that you do. Why would you? I mean, you quit the job that you do, and then you start overspending. Then you go and get Ferraris. You like the blue one and the green one. You buy the both of them. You start buying houses. Understand this, man. That 1 million ain't gonna last forever with riotous living. Now, a smart man would do what? Use that money to make more money, man. Set up a little business. Like you can't spend money. You can't keep spending money if you got no income, man. You can't spend more than you make. That's the mistake that people do. These people win the lottery for what? 5 million. And what do they do? 2 years. Oh, I'm bankrupt now. Why? Because the riotous living, man. Before you would what? Before you would drink normal Volvic water. Now you're buying this nice water that comes in the expensive bottle. You change your living too much, man. Before you would what? Now you want to move out. Now you want to move out the hood. Now you would usually spend £100 a week in Asda. Now you want to spend $1,000 in Asda. Before you would only buy the cheap Asda products. Now you're buying the name brand products. Whereas some of them Asda products taste better than the name brand ones. Like for instance, man, Frosties. Listen, I love Frosties. Frosties cost about £3.50, man. Whereas you can get the Asda branded Frosties, the fake Frosties, which is like 99 pence, and they taste similar, man. Like there's the cheaper options. Like even if you buy even the chocolate bars, you can get the Viscount chocolates, which is like £2 something, or you can get the cheap ones for 50 pence, which taste the same, man.
That's right.
How do I know? Because I'll give them to my kids and they never complain that they taste any different, man. And these are the 50 pence ones, man. When you start living riotous, once you start living riotous, your money's gonna run out and you're back to square one. Go ahead, sir.
You can get the I.S.U.P.K or the Reese's bar.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can get the Snickers or what is the Reese's bar?
It's the Racer bar.
The Racer bar, man. And listen, they taste the same, man. There might be a little difference. The thing is, go ahead. So the thing is, there's cheaper options, but people like to live riotous. Now, you can buy champagne. Like you like to go to the club. You can buy champagne for what? You can buy a cheap prosecco. But what do people want to do? Buy the £500 bottle of Ace and Spades. Your money ain't gonna last long if you live in riotous, man. And this is what people do with their inheritance: live riotous. Basically, this parable, this man lived riotous, and in the end, he had to end up coming back. But for time's sake, give me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 30. I'm going to show you why your father has no inheritance. I'm going to show you why your father has no inheritance, man. It ain't his fault.
Verse 13.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 30.
And the Lord shall make thee, Salakia, and the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail.
1 second, is that the right one?
It's 30, Dad.
Yeah, verse 30.
30.
Yeah, 30.
Oh, Salakia. I said 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife.
It says, thou shalt betroth a wife, man. Meaning back then, what? This would be your wife. You'll be engaged to her and whatnot. Go ahead. Married to her.
God.
Go ahead.
And another man shall lie with her.
Listen, man. You see, like how your inheritance weren't yours. Back then, even your wife wasn't even yours, man. This man would come and have sex with her. That's your wife, man. It's your possession. Right. You're meant to have sex with her. What would happen is what? This slave master would come and have sex with her, man, and just throw her back to you. He would rape her, man, and then throw her back to you. And she's crying her eyes out, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, man. There's nothing you can do to stop it. She's back to you, crying her eyes out. You mean to tell me you don't think this man's the devil the Bible speaks of? He rapes your woman, man.
That's right.
Throws her back to you, man. Throws her back to you. And then says, there you go. And he don't feel guilty. He don't got no conscience or nothing. The same way they took our inheritance, they'd also take your wife, meaning your wife wasn't even yours, man. This man liked the look of her. He would just have sex with her. Listen, man, somebody has to pay for that.
That's right.
Pay back for that, man. What you think they're getting to walk away free for that? Nah, man. These women that was raping is the daughters of the prophets, man.
That's right.
That's right.
These women that was raping is the daughters of the prophets, man. And God loves them daughters, man. Right. And there's gonna be some payback for it. They think they just got away free. No, man, they ain't, man. They think they've just robbed all our inheritance and got away free. They haven't, man. They better enjoy it while it lasts. Because what's gonna happen is there's gonna be some bloodshed for it, man. There's gonna be bloodshed for it, man. And you need to be on the right side of the fence when that happens. Read on.
God. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
So now you would build a house, and you don't get to live there, man. Imagine this house that you built, some devil lives in there and he passes it down to his child when he dies.
Right.
Meanwhile, you built the house. You should be passing this house down to your child, but you don't get to live in that house, but you built it. And this is why you've got no inheritance, man. This is why our children can't get no inheritance, because the house that we built, we don't get to dwell therein, man. So you see, every white man, woman, and child who's inherited houses from their parents, they say they ain't own slaves. They benefited of slavery, man. Because that house that they own, the reason they got that house is because you built it, man. And they're dwelling in it. Meanwhile, you ain't dwelling in it. Listen, for a white man to prove he's not racist, what he would need to do is sign over that house to us, man. Sign over that house, and then I might believe you. Guess what? They ain't gonna sign over that house because they know about their white privilege and their what they got from their fathers. Yeah, read on.
Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shall not gather the grapes thereof.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard and not gather the grapes thereof. Listen, man. We plant everything. We don't reap the benefits, man. We build everything. We don't reap the benefits, man. We built this whole country up. We don't get no benefits. We work in sun up to sundown, and we don't get no benefits. Meanwhile, these other nations, like on your slavery, just speak to someone on your slavery. There's an East Indian that works with me. He's got 3 houses. His fathers gave him 3 houses, and he's got a shop. And he's gone. So he's asked me, what have I got? Listen, man. I had to say to him, listen, man. I had to say to him, listen. Everyone else has had a head start, and everything that black people did has been stolen. So we've got nothing. Right. I said we've got nothing because what everything that black people did have has been stolen. Really, them 3 houses should be mine, and that shop should be mine. But because these nations use us and rob us, we've got nothing to pass down to our children, man. And this is why it's not our dad's fault, it's our oppressors' fault why we got no inheritance. Go ahead.
Right.
And then another thing, man, we work for 60 years, and at the end of 60 years, retirement age is what is it, 75?
Yeah, 65.
Yeah, 65, you retire at 65, and you still got nothing to pass down to your kids, man. So you mean to tell me I must spend England makes that like, listen, you must be born, go to nursery, primary school, college, university, get a job, and then work for 60 years, and then you die. That's the life of a slave, man. I want to be a free man. And in the UPK, we live as free men, man.
That's right.
What we do is we serve God, man. And we've got a greater inheritance than they could ever have. The greatest inheritance that they can have is what they've got right now. But our inheritance is the whole earth, man. If we serve God, we need to go and get our inheritance, man. Listen, if you're mad that your dad didn't pass you down no inheritance, you should get in the I.S.U.P.K, man. Right. Maybe you can pass down your children some inheritance. Maybe you can be someone in the kingdom of God, man. Maybe you can be someone in the kingdom of God, and then your children can get the inheritance, man. You can't be mad at your dad because you ain't got no inheritance and you ain't doing the right thing either way. It don't make no sense. Read on.
God, thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof.
They will kill your ox in front of your eyes, man, and you won't get to eat thereof. Go ahead.
Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face.
And listen, man, they would take away your donkey and stuff before your face, man. They will take it away violently, like what they do now, man. They take from us, take. In the Caribbean, man, they take. We come to England, we build it up, they kick us out. So you mean to say my grandma worked 3 jobs and still couldn't afford her funeral when she died, man? Which lets you know that this place ain't for us, man. This place don't care about us. And this is why there's no point you striving to make this white man's life better. What you do is strive and love your people, man. And we can have a greater inheritance which can't be taken from us, which no man can take. Read on.
And shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies.
Thy what?
Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies.
Listen, man, back then you would make money off these things you would make money off.
That's right.
You would make money off these things, man. Like it weren't just a sheep that you had as a pet. You didn't just have the sheep as a pet. You knew you would make money off the sheep, man. You'd breed them, sell them, serve food and whatnot, do whatever, man. These things was your money maker, man. Them taking your sheep, like what? Them taking your sheep is like them taking your driving license off you today, man. Imagine you do a driving job and they take your driving license. You don't just have the license because you know you want to socially drive around. You work, you do a driving job. Them taking it off you means what? You can't make no money, man. Them taking your ox, your donkey, and your sheep, they took your money maker, man.
That's
And
right.
why did they take your money maker? So you have to rely on them. And they take these things of us, so we have to rely on them.
Right.
Okay, read on.
God. And thou shalt have none to rescue them.
And the
Thy
thing is,
son.
we had no one to rescue us, man. No one to rescue our get our sheep back and so forth. We had none of that, man. We had no one to help fight for us and whatnot. Like back then, you see, back then, nothing ain't changed now. Back then, you couldn't call the white man on the white man because they're all evil, man. It's like now, you can't call the police on the police. There's no difference, man. If you call the police on the police, you're just gonna get shot by both officers, man. It don't make no difference. The same thing which back then is going on now. Try calling the police and the policeman, it don't work. Go ahead.
God. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Says thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. They took our sons and our daughters, man.
Right.
And people get mad at us when we say they're going into slavery.
That's right.
Nobody didn't get mad when they took ours into slavery.
Right.
You say that was the past? Nah, man. Well, listen, if that's the past, this is their future, man. This is going to be their future. Their sons and their daughters is going into slavery. Same way they took ours, we're going to take theirs, man.
Right.
For every action, there's a reaction, man. And the reaction is what? You enslaved our children. We're going to enslave their children. Read on.
God. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
And we looked and longed for them, man, thinking, are they coming back? Are we going to get them back? We cried our eyes out. Imagine crying your eyes out and there's nothing you can do about it. Imagine there's no one that can help you. Imagine the man that sold your sons and daughters, he's drinking rum and dancing around his living room, living his best life, man. His heaven is your hell, man, and it's never going to change. Their heaven is our hell, and this is why our heaven has to be their hell. We can't partake of the same things, man. Us and this oppressor, we can't have the same things.
Right.
Heaven can't be our heaven. Like our hell can't be his hell. So when we in heaven, it's only right he has to be in hell, man. There's no such thing as all of us holding hands and getting along. If that was the case, that would have happened already, man. It ain't happening.
Right.
It's never gonna happen. It ain't never gonna happen. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it would have started under Martin Luther King, man.
Yeah, exactly. Martin Luther King's dream, man. Martin Luther King's dream was our worst nightmare, man. Black and white children holding hands, man. The thing is this, man. Black children was in the cotton field. Meanwhile, white children was living their best life, man. Dancing around the living room. Meanwhile, we was their entertainment. So in the kingdom, we're going to need some entertainment too. They're going to be our entertainment, man. Read on.
And fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand.
I mean, we had no power, man. Go ahead.
God. The fruit of that land and all thy labors shall be a nation which thou knowest not.
The fruit of all our labors, man. What's labors? Work, man. Everything you work for, another nation eats it up. Now, let's say you work in McDonald's. The man that runs McDonald's, he takes all that money, man. He sells what? Listen, he sells one meal in McDonald's, and you make how much is a meal in McDonald's? It's about what? £6. About $5.25. Now, one meal in McDonald's. If he sells 2 meals in McDonald's, that's more than the hourly rate that you're getting, man. He sells 2 meals. That's more than the hourly rate that you're getting. and they sell hundreds of meals an hour. So you mean to say he can only pay you £7, £8? He can only pay you, and McDonald's, I'm sure they get what, £7 an hour or something.
That is 7.25.
See, and they get $7.25, man. You mean to say one meal is more than you're making an hour, man? And listen, you're making tons of burgers, man. Listen, when I was 16, I used to work there, and we made so many Big Macs, man, like 1,000 Big Macs an hour, like 1,000 double cheeseburgers. And back then, it was like £4.87.
Yeah.
See, it was £4.87, man. This man was paying £4.87. Meanwhile, the man that runs the business, he's making a killing, man, and he can only pay his employees £4.87. This is why when we get our kingdom, and they're gonna have to work for free, man. £4.87 is like working for free. The pay was so low that you couldn't take annual leave. You would have to what? Work all for your annual leave and get it paid at the end of the year, so you have extra money. So you pick up your wage and your annual leave money, man. And this was, I was young. This is the first time I seen like £500 in my bank account, man. One time I printed the receipt, I would just stare at the receipt like I got £500, man. That £500 was something back then, man. I thought it was something. Meanwhile, all them Big Macs I was making, I deserved at least 50 grand, man. I deserved at least 50 grand, man. I was happy for the 500 read on.
God. The fruits of thy labor and the fruits of thy land and the fruits of thy labor shall which thou knowest. Oh my Lord. Salakia. The fruits of thy land and all of thy labors and the nation which thou knowest not eat up.
Listen, man, this nation that you know it's not eat up, meaning this is why you ain't got no inheritance, because what you would pass down to your children, a nation you don't know, a nation you know not, takes all of that and they pass it down to their children. So these Edomites with these big cars and big houses that look at us like, oh, black people just can't get it together. The reason why they've got them cars and houses is because what? Their fathers ate up our wealth. Like, listen, man, you're out your mind if you think the white man's done a hard day's work. If you think he's done a hard day's work to get to where he's got to, it's a damn lie, man. It lets you know that what most slave owners never ever step foot on the island of the Caribbean, but they just got the riches from there. They just waited at the docks, unloaded them ships, set up all these loan companies, set up all these next companies off the cotton that you picked, off the sugarcane that you picked, off the tobacco that you picked. They set up all these companies off of that, man. And now, if you think these men which is ruling the earth today, or who is filthy rich, done a hard day's work in their life, that's a lie, man. If you think the men that own these record companies done a hard day's work in their life, they ain't done no hard day's work in their life. The thing is this, man. All these record labels, in order for them to pay you a certain fee, just imagine how much money they're picking up, man. Now, the person who pays Jay-Z, imagine how much money they're making. People who pay Mayweather to box, imagine how much money they're making. There's a man that sits at the top of every company taking all the money in, and he breaks you off a little pay. You think what Mayweather's got something? Just look at the man who pays Mayweather.
That's right.
Understand he's sitting on the real money.
That's right.
Look at the man who sits on the top of all these record labels. Like, look at it like this. Now, if a white man ever wants to pay you for your talent and says, I'll pay you $1 million, just understand that you're worth at least 100 million. And he sees what you don't see it. You don't see how much you're worth. And this is why with songs, when the song's popping, what happens? They pay you 250,000 for that song one time. You'll be like, wow, 250 grand, let me take it. But all the money they make off that song going forward forever, that money belongs to them because they've brought that song off you. Whereas the white man knows about slow money. He knows, you know what? Let me pay him 250 grand for this song because I know this song is going to make 5 million. He ends up with 5 million and you just settle with that 250 grand. And then when you find out how much money that song's made and how much you could have got, it then gets you mad, man. All these movie actors, these actors, they're worth way more money than they get paid. But the white man will say, I'll buy this is what they say to you, I'll buy your work off you for this much. I'll buy it off you for this much. Really, you're worth a lot more than that. But us coming from slavery, we don't think we're worth that much. Like, however much Usain Bolt gets paid to run, I guarantee you Usain Bolt could have got paid way more, man. You know why? Usain Bolt said I'm not running. Half the stadium wouldn't be there, man. Half the people wouldn't be in the stadium. Listen, you think people go to watch the Olympics to go see canoeing? No one not go to see canoeing. People go to see black men run, man. People go to see black men do the long jump. People go to see black men do the relay. Like with the Olympics, especially us, all we watch is the running, man. That's all we watch. We set our timer to watch Usain Bolt break them records, man. 9.58. We don't care about the canoeing. We don't care about the what's the next garbage ones they're doing there that no black people watch. Yeah, we don't care about the discus throw and the shot put. We don't care about them things, man. We just care about the track and field, man. And we dominate the track and field. We dominate it. Imagine if Usain Bolt and Asafa Powell said, we're not running, even though Asafa Powell, every time he's losing the race, he mysteriously gets an injury. Listen, as everyone said, he'll be running. As soon as he falls in last place, he grabs his hamstring, fakes a hamstring injury. Listen, man, you can YouTube it. Every race he claims he's had the injury because he knows he ain't going to come first. Honestly, a part of me don't blame him. To be fair. But for time's sake, give me Ezekiel chapter 34 and verse 5.
Ezekiel chapter 34 and verse 5. When they were scattered, because there is no shepherd.
And the thing is this, man, we ain't had no shepherd, man. For a while we had no shepherd. We were scattered. And the people that was meant to lead us, these Christian pastors, they exploited us and destroyed us. That's right. They had us loving our enemies and our oppressors. They had us give up everything that we had. They had us give up they had us believe that what? These other nations is better than us. Right. They had us believe that it was good for slavery. We're just slaves. Like they make us believe that our first estate was slavery. This is why in school history, all the teachers are you was a slave and there's no other you got no other history read on. Rabban, your mic's gone quiet.
And they became meat to all the beasts of the field.
And they became what?
They were scattered.
They became what? Rabban, I think you read that again. I think your mic's gone.
The mic's gone.
Oh, no, it's back again. I can hear you.
It's lucky. Yeah. Read it again. And they became meat to all the beasts of the field.
It says we became meat to all the beasts of the field. Now, what's meat? Meat is food, man. We've become everybody's source of food, man. We've become, because of us is why.
And they became meat to all the beasts of the field when they were scattered.
Meat to all these beasts. Like we're a source of protein for these nations, man. Listen, you see why they can drive around in fleshy cars. Why? Because we're meat to them, man. We have to do all the dirty work. We have to do everything, man. We've become meat to these other nations. And for time's sake, give me what's it? Give me Psalms chapter 2 and verse 8. Like we've become their meat, man. They profit off us. The reason why they can have mansions is why? Because they've stepped on the heads of black people, man. They've made black people work sun up to sundown. That's why they can have everything that they have. You see why they can have these nice gated communities? It's because what? We've become their meat, man. Like they you see how animals eat other animals to live. Without them other animals, you see how lions survive off eating antelopes. We've become like the antelope, man. These nations eat us for them to live, man. Everything that we do is so they can live. Read on.
Gone. Psalms chapter 2 Verse 8. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathens for thine inheritance.
Hold on, what did the Lord say he's going to do? What?
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathens for thine inheritance.
Listen, man, this inheritance right here is better than money, man. We're taking them heathens as inheritance. Listen, they took us. The Lord said, ask of me, dear Lord, can I have these heathens as inheritance? I'm asking right now, Lord, can I have these heathens as inheritance, man? I'm asking right now, man. Listen, I want them as inheritance. And listen, man, black people saying, oh, it's wrong to have slaves and blah, blah, blah. I'll take your portion, man. I'll have your inheritance also, man. If you don't want your inheritance, I'll take your inheritance. I'll have your money and these nations, man. I'll take them. If you don't want them, that's fine. I'll have them. Read on.
God. And the utmost part of the earth for thy possession.
For our inheritance. Go ahead.
For thy possessions, lucky.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron.
Thou shalt what?
Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron.
Listen, man, we're going to break these nations, man. That's what we're going to do, man. Understand this. While they sold our children and they killed our babies in the streets, man, no one has nothing to say about it.
Right.
You kept quiet about that, so you better keep quiet when we break them like a vessel, man. When we break them like a vessel, I don't want to hear a word, man. We didn't hear a word out of you when black people get killed by them. So we don't want to hear a word out of you when we break them like a potter's vessel, man. Read on.
Thou shalt dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel.
Thou
shalt dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel.
Listen, man, they stole everything from us, inheritance and everything. So when we dash them like a potter's vessel, I don't want to hear a word out of you, man. You didn't say nothing when Mark. You didn't say nothing when Mark Duggan died, man. I don't want you to say nothing when Bill Gates gets dashed like a potter's vessel, man. Listen, I don't want you to say nothing when David Cameron and Boris Johnson get dashed like a potter's vessel, man. The people that you worship so much, they're going to be broken into pieces. Is there any more on that?
That was verse 9.
For time's sake, give me Revelations chapter 21 and verse 5.
Revelation chapter 21, verse 5. And in that, and he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful.
Listen, man, all things is made new, man, and all these things is true and faithful. All these words is true and faithful. Things is going to be made new, meaning what? Heaven and earth, man. There's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, meaning the rulership position is going to change, man. Our condition is going to change, man. Let Esau live his lavish life with all his riches that he stole of us, but the tables is going to turn, man. And once the tables do turn, they're not going to turn back. They're only going to turn that once and not turn back. Go ahead.
God. Faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
That means the beginning and the end. Go ahead.
God. I will give unto him that is a thirst of the fountains of the water of life freely.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
God. He that overcometh shall inherit all things.
He that overcomes shall inherit all things. Listen, man. I'd rather have all things than just a little money. I'd rather inherit all things than just a little money, man. That's right. There's a better inheritance, man, than what the white man's got. There's a way better inheritance. You need to overcome, meaning what? We need to get up in here and be in this truth, man. Get up in here and serve God so we can inherit all things, man. Forget Esau and his money. Let him have his money. Because listen, money comes and goes, man. What the Lord's got stored up for us, it's here forever, man. Drop that for time's sake. Give me the last one. Give me a 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 5.
Second Timothy chapter 4, verse 5. But watch thou in all things, endure affliction,
So now endure afflictions, man. Go through these trials, man. Go through these hard times. Why? Because you're being tried, man. And listen, man, there's a reward. There's a reward at the end of all this, which is better than the white man's inheritance, man.
That's
Which is an inheritance, which is what only Israelites can get. Read on.
Shalom Khan. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist.
An evangelist is what? A man that goes out and brings people into the truth and whatnot. That's what an evangelist is. But a Christian will say, what does a Christian say? It's someone that brings someone to Christianity. Yeah. That's what a Christian will say, someone that brings someone to Christianity. When really those in Christianity before those in Christianity, because nothing changes with that. Doing the work of an evangelist is what you get a man to change and come into the truth, and he's a new person and whatnot. Go ahead.
God, make full proof of thy ministry.
Go ahead.
God, for I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand.
Now this is Paul saying, yo, it's ready to be offered, and his time of his departure is at hand. Listen, man. These is the words that I want to be saying on my deathbed, man. I want to be saying these words, man. What Paul's saying, read on.
God, I have fought a good fight.
And listen, black man. Finished. In order for you to get this inheritance, you need to fight a good fight, man. Go ahead.
That's right. Fight a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith.
The faith is the truth, man. That's what you need to keep, the truth, man. You need to be old on your deathbed saying, you know what, it's almost my time, but I fought a good fight and I've kept the faith. Go ahead.
That's right. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness.
And listen, he said, because he's kept the faith. He said, because he's kept the faith, there's laid up for him a crown of righteousness, man. That's what we should strive to get. We shouldn't be striving to get this white man's pension, man. Working 70 years for a pension and you're still broke and you still can't put your heating on. We should be striving for this crown of life, man. I'd rather strive for this crown of life than for this white man to give me anything, man. That's right. I'd strive for this crown of life, like Paul said, read on.
God, which the Lord, so like a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous Lord, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day.
The Lord's going to give him that day. Listen, man, you don't want to spend your whole life working and then you go before the throne of God, and then it's like, oh, so what did you do? The Lord opens the book, and you've got no works in there, man. Right. Meaning what? This devil's just bamboozled you to work your whole life serving him, and you ain't served God one day in your life. How about we serve God, man, and then everything else will be added onto us, man? Put everything else second and God first, man. That's how we're supposed to do it, not put this devil first. Read on.
God, righteous judge shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing.
And all of us that keep this faith, man, like it said, all of us that stay in the truth, all of us that serve God, we're going to receive that crown of life, man. We're going to receive these heathens as our inheritance, man. Meaning you're going to be Lord over them. You're going to tell them what to do and what not to do. I'd rather that than this devil give me a pension, man. I'd rather that. I'd rather rule over him, man. I'd rather tell him, get on that field, boy. That's what I'm going to say to him. You see how this speak to us? I'm going to reverse the terms, man. I'm going to say, get on that field, boy. I might even call him a nigger, Salakia. I might even call him a nigger in that day. With that brings us to the end of the class. We're up on the time. Yeah, no sense.
All right, so Hakim, we're going to give the salute. Right. I'm Madiam. I'm Madiam Shubak. I'm Madiam Barak. Yahweh Shai Barak Thar.
Yahweh Shemir Shabak Afam.
Yadia Mata, class dismissed.
Right, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Barak Afam.
Most time, Chris.